Dollar. Dirt and money, no soul. Had to go and get it, ain't no time to kick it. Got a stack and flip for my foes. Dollar. Please tell me you can hear me. Don't turn your back and don't neglect me. Just let me know if you need me. Dollar. Let me watch out for my partners. Keep my money long, get my team strong. Let me run away from my problems.
Yup, what's good, original crew, man? We're back. Yes, that's right. We're back with something different, something we haven't did on this channel before, but it is the darkest moments in TV history. What can that be about, C?
That could be about a plethora of things, honey.
A plethora?
Yeah, it could be about anything. There's many things that dark moments in TV history and stuff that you like probably forgot about.
You think I'm like on some conspiracy theory types? Like,
nah, I
did you see that? You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah.
You didn't see that? Y'all missed this in the Super Bowl ad. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, see.
That's
light.
You said that light word?
Mm-hmm.
All right. So with that being said, man, before we get into it, make sure you check out the links in the description box.
Down below.
You already know where to go, man. You want the first part? All you have to do is check out down below. Also, if you enjoyed today's visuals,
like it with a thumbs up.
But let's go. Let's hop into it. Let's check it out. Let's see what it's about, man. This could be something new on the channel, man. Let's go.
It was a typical day in the world of daytime television. Infomercials, soap operas, and highly scripted legal shows filled viewer screens, with one of the more popular at the time being a program called Christina's Court.
Today in Christina's Court.
The show centered around a woman named Christina Perez, giving counsel and advice to those wrapped up in legal drama. And on this particular morning, comedian Sean Harris would be featured filing suit against his ex-girlfriend in the hopes of recouping unpaid rent.
Every month it would be something different, you know?
Girl, he just looked like a bunch of fat people we done seen. Talking about so. She gonna say so. I remember him. Like, no, you do not.
I do not. I feel like I remember his face.
No.
Yes.
No.
I ain't got it this month because I got to do this or that. I'm like, man.
So you let her go 9 months without paying rent?
Now, like I said, these shows were very obviously scripted, at least to some degree. And with Sean himself being a professional comedian, it led to countless funny moments and what turned out to be one of the show's more iconic episodes, with by far the most memorable moment coming at the very end, when things seemed to deviate from the script.
Constantly like a child in my
People
own
in
house.
love, they yell at each other all the time.
Oh, that's true. Ask him, he's been married for how long?
Over 27 years.
Oh,
yes.
Look at him though, he look mad.
Yes.
All right,
I do remember.
sorry for pausing.
You remember now?
I remember him because I know the story
But
now.
I'm saying I remember seeing this. That's why I remember it, because I remember seeing the whole
Girl,
clip.
You just remember a fat dude on TV.
So I do remember the
That's
judge.
all you remember.
You don't look happy, brother. You don't look happy.
Here, we see the comedian take aim at Christina's bailiff, a man named Renard Spivey, who was an integral part of the show, being the judge's sidekick for years and years. Though it wasn't often that he found himself at the end of a joke like this, as Sean suggests that Renard looked unhappy when it was revealed that he had been married for over 27 years.
He's very happy. Okay, all right, let's get back to the claim.
All in all, it made for a rather charming moment, with viewers adoring the lighthearted jab aimed at one of the show's most beloved characters. Though no one could have known at the time just how true that joke about his happy marriage would turn out to be.
Still developing tonight, a Harris County Sheriff's deputy facing serious charges. 63-year-old Renard Spivey accused of killing his wife, 52-year-old Patricia Spivey, after an argument that turned...
He's 63, she's 52. Been married for 2. You was ours. She was 52, right? 27? Trying to do the calculation. She was young. She was young when they got together. So you take 25 from 50, that's 25, but the 2.
27.
That's what I'm saying. She was 20. She was 25. 25, right? She was 25 when they got together.
That would be correct, I think.
Quick maths. Hey, y'all, does that make her? She's. If you do the math, isn't she? No, his age.
63.
I mean, no, her age. Take 27 from 52.
Yeah.
At 25. At that time, if we going off of that time, but this could have happened. Hold on. This could have happened years later.
He was 36.
No. This could have happened years later, so it could have been an additional year. So she probably was younger than 25 when they got married.
And he was like in his late 30s.
Because obviously, so as the filming of the show, they had been together for 27 years. By the time he murdered her, it could have been a couple years after that taping of that show. Yeah, so they could have been together for, 24 years by the time he killed her.
Right.
Damn. So she was in her early 20s. He was in his late 30s.
Mm-hmm.
Bro,
when they got married.
That was not the man for you. I don't give a fuck about the 27 years because obviously he didn't give a fuck about it.
Yeah. But
that's crazy, bro.
That is crazy, though.
KPRC Channel 2's Bill Barano.
On July 28, 2019, over a decade after the aforementioned program aired, Renard Spivey was confronted by his...
shit, that's worse! A decade later. No, because that means she was a minor.
Huh?
That would make her a minor. They had been together for 27 years. Man, I can't.
Okay,
I'm missing something. I have to be missing something.
Okay, let's just listen.
Because he shouldn't even been out as a...
Over a decade after the aforementioned program aired, Renard Spivey was confronted by his wife Patricia about what she believed to be steroid use or perhaps even infidelity. And in the midst of this heated argument, Spivey would draw his gun and shoot his wife once in the arm and then in the chest.
Wow.
Shortly after, police would find her lifeless body crumpled in their bedroom closet. Now, after years and years of taking part in this once famed legal show, Spivey can be found alone in his prison cell, where he'll likely remain for the next 14 years of his life, for murdering the woman that he was so happily married to, turning what was once one of Christina's court's most iconic moments into one of the darkest examples of irony in all of television history.
When you find a good woman, you got to hang on for dear life, because then it's hard to find another. So my advice is a happy woman, married woman.
That's crazy.
The world of television is an interesting one. Despite the highly controlled and well-polished products that we're typically used to seeing on our screens, there have been a surprisingly high number of deeply disturbing moments that have happened when on air, and this potentially new series aims to highlight some of the most disturbing. And what better way to start than with a relatively unknown case that has haunted me for years. Saturday, June 14th, 2008, a Japanese TV station called Television Miyazaki is running its standard live programming, which on this day was set to feature a game show-like segment in the remote rice fields of Takachi Hocho. The game itself was simple. Competitors stood back-to-back on a small wooden stand above the shallow muddy water below, and when given the cue, they would attempt to shove their opponent into the water without turning their bodies around. In the end, the one left standing on the platform would be declared the winner, with the loser being left humiliated in the mud. Round 1 goes off without a hitch, resulting in the losing contestant being covered head to toe in a thick brown sludge, with the whole atmosphere perfectly encapsulating the craziness and high-energy charm that you would expect from a Japanese game show made at the time. And so far, everything was all in good fun, with this excitement only escalating as the contestants convinced one of the show's hosts, a man named Tatsuchi Yanagita, to join in on the competition. It took some convincing, but eventually Tetsuchi agrees to compete, much to the enjoyment of everyone spectating. And from there, the comedy writes itself, as immediately after the round starts, it's apparent that he stood little to no chance. And upon instantly losing his balance, Tetsuki reacts in a split second and dives off the platform, landing headfirst into the muddy water below, which causes his body to fall limp. The water that he had just dove into was merely 6 inches deep, with the rest consisting of a thick layer of mud, which his head would strike directly, instantly causing his neck to break. And in that very moment, Tetsuchi would be irreversibly paralyzed, leaving him unable to move from the neck down. It was a tragic accident. However, the accident itself is far from the most awful part of this live broadcast.
And I'm going to have to chop that up a little bit for y'all, because just for guidelines purposes.
Yeah.
But he shouldn't even got involved in it anyway. It's one thing to host, but a lot of times when these people have trained, they have been going through some of the measures. You've been the host, you probably don't know, like, you're there to host.
Like how to land, how to
like,
fall
they haven't told you,
stuff.
like, certain things.
And normally, do y'all get the host involved in on things?
Nah, that was his first time.
Like
so
that was the first time.
So he didn't even know, like, all right, how deep it is. Well, he probably knew how deep it was, but seeing, this how they land anyway, so I'm going to land the same way, not knowing they're basically told to land more like chest, not head first, but like flank first. So I don't know, man. That's a sad, unfortunate situation right there.
Coming immediately after, unaware of Tetsuchi's severe injury, the crew believed that he was merely playing a prank on them and just joking around, and so they left him there, face first in the water, and proceeded to shove his face even deeper and deeper into the mud, splashing even more on top of his head to rub in the fact that he had lost. They had no idea that during their antics, Tetsuchi was in a desperate fight for survival, as in those 6 inches of water, he was slowly drowning, and completely unable to pick up his head to breathe. This lasts for an excruciatingly long 15 seconds before they begin to bob his head up and down and eventually pull Tetsuchi's face out of the water. But this reprieve was short-lived, as the contestants proceed to drop him back into the mud face first. It is so incredibly painful to watch, and made all the more disturbing with the over-the-top hysterical laughter coming from everyone around him, who are completely oblivious to the situation in front of them. Finally, after what feels like an eternity, Tetsuchi is hoisted above the water and the camera switched back to the main broadcast, ending both Tetsuchi's and the viewer's pain. By some stroke of good fortune, Tetsuchi would survive the ordeal, but just barely, as it's estimated that even just a few more seconds in that mud would have likely led to his death. But thankfully, this wasn't the case. And according to his Facebook page, Tetsuchi has learned to live with his body-wide paralysis, and even went on to rejoin the show years later in some capacity, ending this entry off on somewhat of a bright spot, despite this otherwise being one of the more unsettling and appalling broadcast accidents that I've ever seen.
Wake up, wake up, wake up with
Donald. That's just an unfortunate situation for sure, man. Like,
that pissed me off, though.
You said what?
I said that pissed me off. But yeah, the situation is definitely unfortunate.
Because it could have been avoided. Could have been avoided 100%. Not necessarily because he joined in not understanding. You know what I'm saying?
Like it's a freak accident. You know what I'm saying? Accident. But it's just, I guess,
the aftermath.
The aftermath. I'm just like
well, I guess the reason why they did it is because they typically probably do it to other contestants.
Yeah.
So they probably rub your face in the mud.
Or they're used to like playing with each other, doing pranks with each other and stuff like that.
But if you don't see him moving and trying to get up, then somebody should be like,
yeah.
You know? Yeah. Like something should go off in your head, be like something just ain't right.
Yeah.
Wake up, wake up, wake up with
Donald Herbert had been in a coma for the previous...
On the topic of broadcasts that have left an impression on my life, I would say none have had more of an emotional impact than a story run by 60 Minutes about a man named Donald Herbert. The story starts back in 1995, just 4 days after Christmas, when a fire broke out in a home in Buffalo, New York. In an attempt to put out the blaze, firefighter Donald Herbert was standing on the roof of the building when suddenly it gave way. As a result, Herbert would fall into the attic where he would be trapped in the smoke, unable to breathe. He would lay there without oxygen for 6 whole minutes before they finally were able to pull his body to safety, with the whole ordeal being filmed and shown on local news. Somehow, Herbert managed to survive this accident, but being without air for that long caused him to lose most of his brain function, leading to him spending the following years in a minimally conscious state, unable to eat, unable to breathe, and seemingly unable to understand the world around him. Eventually, his condition led to him being placed in a nursing home, where a feeding tube was the only thing keeping him alive. For all intents and purposes, the man was gone. But then, something happened. On April 20th, 2005, a staggering 9.5 years after his accident, Donald Herbert woke up. In the nursing home where he had spent most of the years unresponsive, he would suddenly turn to a nurse and ask for his wife, Linda, while displaying signs of being fully lucid, which prompted the staff to immediately call his family, who rushed to see him. And sure enough, despite Herbert being completely blind, he was not only fully responsive, but recognized almost all of his family members. The moments following were all captured by cameras and later shown on an episode of 60 Minutes, with the footage being some of the hardest hitting and emotional that I've personally ever seen.
Everyone.
How long have I been gone?
Quite a while, pal. Quite a while. 10 years.
Wow.
The pain in discovering.
Bro, we were just talking about this the other day, seeing the video of this woman. She was in a coma for 5 years after being in a car wreck, and the doctors came in and was telling them to.
A couple days later, after the car wreck,
they told them to pull the plug.
And her mom was like, "No, I'm not giving up on my child."
And she was in like one of the medical induced coma or anything. She was literally in a coma for 5 years, no response, and then one day she just wakes up, and it's kind of the same way with him, but he was more like I want to say a vegetative state. Would you say? Well, all of them kind of, because they. Even her, they didn't just talk about the process of her eating.
Yeah.
So I guess hers would be the same, you know what I'm saying? But that's crazy, bro.
Like, she woke up, like, with limited mobility.
Yeah, limited mobility.
But she still knew everything.
Everything, yeah.
People could, talk as, best of her ability.
Yeah. So because she's still working on her speaking,
her speech,
her mobility movements
gaining
and stuff.
all of that back,
But
just imagine if you just like, okay, let's just go ahead and pull the plug.
They got and that, because we talked about it, was like sometimes we do feel as though like doctors be so much in a rush to pull the plug instead of seeing things through. So just imagine how many people we just pulled the plug on that actually wasn't their time yet.
And I know for a lot of people, it's like they don't like to see their loved ones like suffer or whatever. But
honestly,
in that
are they
case,
even suffering because they're not in a state of consciousness? So that technically,
I guess it'll be a different thing. Like if they're like in pain.
Yeah. Like the balling joint we saw. That was
that's
different. But in this case, you know what I'm saying?
He had been gone for 10 years. All that time missed, robbed from a man who was just doing his job, is indescribably gut-wrenching. But it's what happens after this footage that proves to be the most upsetting part. For nearly 16 hours, the newly awakened man spoke with his family, catching up on every little detail that he had missed. And though from that point on he had moments going in and out of his lucidity, his long-term prognosis actually seemed hopeful. Throughout the next few weeks, Donald was surrounded by family members at all times, not only to take advantage of every single second that Herbert was awake, but also for his own safety as well, as since his awakening, he would thrash violently in his sleep, as if he still believed he was trapped in that blaze. And so to ensure his safety, at least one family member would be stationed with the man while he slept. Though on one night, one of the family members on duty had grown too exhausted to stay any longer, and from the first time since he became lucid, Donald Herbert was left alone. And during that night, he would again start to thrash violently, with Herbert flailing so hard that he would fall out of his bed and strike his head against the floor, causing his brain to start bleeding. From that moment on, Donald Herbert would never become lucid again, and as a result of his injuries, he would pass away 1 year later from pneumonia.
Wow. Now that's the part that, you know what I'm saying?
Wow.
I feel as though that's the reason why some people, I ain't gonna speak on it, but that's sad, bro.
That's a sad situation.
Damn. He had a lot of fight in him.
Yeah, most definitely.
That's crazy.
If anyone had ever thought that such a horrendous thing could happen, obviously we would have stopped.
The Twilight Zone. Throughout its lengthy run, this television series provided some of the most entertaining and memorable moments in all of television. But for this section, I'm going to be cheating a little bit, as rather than looking at an event surrounding the show itself, I'll be highlighting the far less memorable movie version of the series. Simply named Twilight Zone the Movie, the film was broken up into multiple sections serving as sort of an anthology work with 3 separate storylines. And for the sake of this story, only one section and really only one scene bears discussion. The scene was intended to simulate a battle in the Vietnam War, in which the protagonist, a character played by actor Vic Morrow, is attempting to outrun an attack helicopter and escape the area. The footage was intended to serve as the section's dramatic conclusion, with it being described as the following. In the scene that served as the original ending, Bill, the character portrayed by Morrow, stumbles into a deserted Vietnamese village, where he finds 2 young Vietnamese children left behind when a U.S. Army helicopter appears and begins shooting at them. Morrow was to take both children under his arm and escape out of the village, as the hovering helicopter destroyed the village with multiple explosions. Based on that description alone, shooting the scene was going to be tricky and likely a very intense process on the set, as all the effects used were set to be done practically, meaning that they would require an actual helicopter and real pyrotechnics. Not only this, but the director, a man named John Landis, wanted to use actual child actors for the scene, which, given that it was planned to take place at night and near explosions, was technically illegal in the state of California. Despite the laws in place, however, Landis decided to shoot the scene regardless, enlisting 7-year-olds Mika Din Lee and 6-year-olds Renee Shin Yi Chen to play the roles of the Vietnamese children. And with all the pieces now in place, the cameras began to roll on what was set to be the stunning conclusion to this particular section. As the scene starts, the spectacle of it all can't be understated, as the lighting, setting, and the pyrotechnics truly set a haunting tone. However, unbeknownst to the production team, there was a major problem developing. As stated prior, all the effects you see here are real, and during the scene there was an actual helicopter flying just above the actors, which by itself was already very dangerous, and made even more so due to the pyrotechnics. For the pilots, the explosions launched in the air created fireballs in the sky, making things much more difficult to navigate, but those on the ground were never made aware of this, and being pressed to make things look even more and more intense, the crew decided to double down on their explosions, launching 2 massive charges back to back, a decision that proved to be a costly one, as the second blast was so strong that it dislodged the helicopter's tail prop, causing the craft to spin uncontrollably. And within mere seconds, as the cameras roll on the 3 actors trudging their way through the water, the craft crashes directly on top of them. Somehow, everyone on board the helicopter survived the wreck, though those on the ground weren't so lucky, as in one split second, the blade of the helicopter slashed into Vic Morrow and Mika Din Lee, instantly decapitating them. And as the craft slammed to the ground, Renee Shin Yi Chen would be crushed beneath its massive weight. In one frame, there were 3 living actors, and in the next, there were none. In retrospect, it's not hard to see the red flags and the dangerous practices being used by the production team. However, following several long legal battles, no one would be found liable in the deaths of the 3 actors, and Landis himself would go on to enjoy an incredibly successful career. The Twilight Zone film would eventually be released years later, only with a different ending.
Wow. Nah, that's some good crazy shit.
That's crazy.
That's somebody who got some money power. To make some pulls like that.
To not be held like no type of responsible when you weren't even supposed to do it anyway. You didn't even have like.
True that.
Like, what are we doing? What are we talking about?
I guess money makes a lot of things go away, huh? Let's be real. Call a spade a spade. Money makes a lot of things go away.
I just wonder, like, what all took place for nothing to be done. I'm just gonna say that.
What year did we get a year?
We can look up and see when.
All right, I ain't gonna do it now.
Oh, they're not gonna demolish it. There's nobody'll come in here. I'll fight force with force.
Our final story takes us to the quaint countryside of Buttsfield, England, where a man named Albert Dryden had been living a fairly solitary life. Following his retirement from steelworking, Albert dedicated his life to building up a plot of land which he had purchased in the area. His main goal was to construct a bungalow for his elderly mother where she could live during the summers, while also planning to build some sort of fallout bunker on the same plot. But right from the start, he ran into issues, as his permit request to build these structures on his land was promptly denied. This did not stop Dryden, however, as despite the ruling, he began his construction anyway, believing he had found a workaround with the law, as rather than building the house in a standard manner, he instead dug a deep hole into the ground and began to construct his home there, labeling it as the home in a hole. Due to this, the home only stood about 8 feet or so above the ground, which Dryden believed made the construction legal. However, he was wrong in his assumption, and the building swiftly caused a disagreement between the man and the Derwentshire District Council, with this rift growing more and more amplified as time went on. In the midst of this ordeal, a man named Harry Collinson was appointed as chief of the council and assigned to handle the case as his first order of business. And he did so by initially sending Dryden a letter demanding that he stop construction and also tear down what he had already built. Dryden, however, decided to counter with a court appeal, which was swiftly denied, leading to the court's final order that the building be demolished within 3 months. It was around the same time that the local news began to document the ongoing feud between Dryden and the government, and despite the numerous rulings against him, Dryden still refused to give in to the government's demands, and eventually, the council decided to take matters into their own hands, and decided to demolish the structure themselves. So on June 20th, 1991, Harry Collinson, a demolition team, and a group of police constables traveled to Dryden's property to demolish the structure. Before this group arrived, the decision was made that should Dryden attempt to escalate the situation, they were to immediately back off and come up with another plan to avoid any sort of physical altercation. At the scene, numerous reporters had already began gathering at the property line, including a cameraman for the BBC, who was there to document the feud in real time. And right from the start, it was clear that Dryden was not going to be going down without a fight. The gate to his property was chain-locked, with Dryden standing behind it, pointing to 2 letters that he believed proved that he should be able to keep his structure intact, at least for the time being.
Read that, that's an official letter, and there's an appeal in. There's an inspector coming out on this site in 5 weeks' time.
Well, it doesn't say that. I'll be ready to say
Well,
that.
I have another letter confirming that.
Can you show me the other
I'm not going to show you the other letter, but this chap's coming out in 5 weeks' time. Well, all that I'm asking is to wait 5 weeks for the outcome, maybe 6 weeks. It'll take a week after he's been out.
I'm satisfied, Albert, that there's nothing in these documents that affects the legality of the enforcement notice.
Well, you went to court, and the court offices, the court office told you have to take it down. So why is your argument that you know what I'm saying? If the judge ruled that you have to tear it down. Like,
I feel you.
Those papers are not valid then, you know what I'm saying? Because obviously, if those papers were that valid, you would have taken it to court when you had court.
Or is it just the fact that he I have time to do whatever y'all are asking me to do, or fix whatever y'all are saying that I need to do to make this?
Nah, they said tear it down, tear it down.
Maybe it was like tear it down. Is there some
ruling
type
said
of...
tear it down. Quit trying to add stipulations. That's what's wrong with people.
But we don't know all.
The court said take it down, motherfucker, tear it down.
But I'm saying that the court
didn't say you got to fix it between the. No, they said tear it down.
Or they said you have to change this, that, and the third. No,
they said take it down. Mom, that's what's wrong with us nowadays. We always want to add someone add. Ain't nothing to be added.
That's not what I'm saying.
Well, if I fix this, can I keep? Because no, we said take it down.
Sometimes they be like, okay, you need to change this to make it up to code.
Sometimes they say tear it down because we said tear it down. So you know what you're supposed to do, see?
I'm gonna try to figure out.
Oh no! See, that's what's wrong with y'all people, man. That's what's wrong. Y'all stubborn as fuck.
I was trying to figure out if there's something I can do to bring it up to code.
Tear it down means what?
They said what they said, I guess.
Tear it down means what?
You said it means tear it down.
All right, that's all it means.
I'm just saying.
That's all it means. I'm just saying shit.
However, Dryden's request for more time was clearly falling on deaf ears. And realizing this, Dryden began to grow more and more agitated, with his tone quickly turning far more menacing.
If you don't open the gate, now we'll obviously have to take the fence down with the machine. So if you want, you can have some time to remove the fence yourself to minimise the damage. Do you want to do that? Any damage that's subsequently caused as a result of you preventing us doing that will be your liability.
Well, you might not be around to see the outcome of this disaster. Now, you've been warned.
Can you explain what you mean by that?
Well, I'm not going to explain, but if you had any sense, you would go away now and wait 5 weeks for the outcome of that. Right? That's my last word on it.
If you show me the letter...
Do we take that as a threat?
What Albert what are you saying? What are you trying to
say? So tear down means what?
Albert said he ain't tearing down his... I mean...
At this point, based on their initial plan, the crew should have certainly turned back, as it was now getting to the point that Dryden was outright threatening Collinson, warning him that if he were to step on his property, that something awful was going to happen. And though this did cause Collinson to take a few steps back, he still remained steadfast in carrying out the task and remained on the edge of the property line, standing his ground even when Dryden escalates the situation even further.
What the Lord don't know?
Can you get a shot at this gun?
Oh!
As the two stand face to face, Dryden brandishes his pistol and points it directly at Collinson, and wanting to ensure the man's combative behavior was being documented, Collinson asks the cameraman to get a shot of his gun, which subsequently leads to this moment.
Can you get a shot at this gun?
Out of it!
Oh,
in an instant, with
don't they typically have? Well, I know here. Don't they typically have police?
Yeah.
Come out, and maybe because of past situations like this. Well, this is in the UK, but maybe you know what I'm saying. Because of past situations, they like, all right, we're gonna make sure. Because if you had officers involved, this wouldn't have happened. He wouldn't even got the ups on him.
I think sometimes.
Man, no, because police are pow, pow, pow. They would already.
Rolling, Dryden fires a shot directly into the chest of Harry Collinson, and then fires another at the crowd standing before him, leading to things devolving into a chaotic scene of running and screaming.
As more shots were fired from a pistol, the camera crew and Look North reporter Tony Belmont ran for cover.
We were standing watching what was going on, and then a shot rang out. The chief kind of fell to the ground, and I felt a shot in the arm, and I've clearly been shot here in the arm.
As the camera crew finally gets to a safe distance and catches their breath, it's revealed that one of the journalists for the BBC had been struck in the arm, along with one of the officers. Though in the midst of all this carnage, we see no sign of Harry Collinson, as by this point, he was likely still on the ground where he had originally fallen, dead from his gunshot wound, with his final words being,
"Can you get a shot at this gun?"
Following the incident, police would engage in a standoff with Dryden, who claimed that he had set up booby traps and landmines, along with other explosives on the property, though this would turn out to be a bluff, and eventually he would be grabbed by officers and taken into custody, where he would subsequently be tried and sentenced to life in prison. And despite his actions on that day, Albert Dryden would go on to become somewhat of a national hero, growing a legitimate fan base for the way he stood up against the government. Dryden would live out his time in prison until 2017 when he suffered a massive stroke, to which he was let out on a compassionate release, with the man eventually passing away just 1 year later. Though his actions that day will forever be immortalized as one of the most notorious and darkest moments in television history. I want to give a big thank you to...
That's crazy.
Yeah, I mean, it's good to stand your ground, but I mean, we don't have to stand it with... I wouldn't have did that. Now, when I said I would have, figured some things out, that wasn't my figuring out.
So what type of figuring out would you have done? I
definitely won't take nobody's life. I definitely ain't doing that.
So what figuring out you would have done? Because obviously,
I'm gonna go.
They said tear it down, they meant tear it down.
The things that I would have tried to figure out is, can I do anything to bring this up to code, or y'all just want this piece?
They want it down.
Like, I'm trying to figure out, do y'all want it down because it doesn't meet code, or y'all just want this, or do y'all just
obviously
want the
they ain't tried to
land
get the land from them. They just said the crib don't meet the code, so tear it down.
They don't know.
Tear it down, child. The hell, that's what's wrong with half of y'all.
I mean, I would have gave him a hard time.
But you know what? You know what? After he popped dude, you know what happened? The city took the land anyway.
So what you saying? I should just tear it down.
Tear it down. At least you would have had your land.
Maybe not. We
you
don't
ain't got
know.
shit now. You ain't got shit. But a pot to piss in and a cold bed to lay your head on.
At that time, now he's deceased.
Cold ground. Maybe would have been went out a little happier. Maybe they put you in a pine box. Could have had a casket. Now you laying on some wood instead of a little padding. It's comfortable.
Well, didn't it say they let him due to?
He only lived out in a year. But I'm saying, what finance you got after a year?
I mean, okay.
Somebody put you in the ground in a pine box. Oh, y'all spam us up in the comments, man. These was crazy stories, man.
These were crazy. Though.
If we have to censor anything, we do apologize. Further events, just due to y'all know how YouTube gets, and we ain't got time to be playing with them.
Facts.
So with that being said, as always, I do.
You had it, baby.
Y'all already know how it go, man. I do go by the name DJ and Kid. This is.
We are.
We are.
Had to go and get it, ain't no time to kick it. Got a stack of flip for my folks. Dollar. Please tell me you can hear me. Don't turn your back and don't neglect me. Just let me know if you need me. Dollar. Let me watch out for my